Hey, tonight I'm looking at a game called The Hobbit. It's a card game. It's a simple trick-taking game with a very light fantasy theme from the Hobbit novel. I'm going to show you how the game works, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it. So this game is playable with 2 to 5 players. I'm going to demonstrate how it works with 5 players, just so you can get kind of the whole picture of things. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take 5 character cards that come with the game. You're going to shuffle them up and give one to each player. The characters, as you can see here, are Thorin, Gandalf, Bilbo, Smaug, and Bolg. Obviously, 2 of these characters are evil, while the other 3 are good. And so the 3 players who got dealt the good cards are going to be on one side, and the two players who got dealt the evil characters are going to be on the side of evil. They're 2 teams playing against each other. Each player also gets dealt a hand of 7 cards. In a 5-player game, the players who are playing on the side of evil actually get dealt 9 cards and then discard down to 7. So I've already gone ahead and shuffled the cards and dealt out hand. And the game is played over 2 rounds. And the first round, you start with the player who has Thorin starting off the first trick. So he's going to play this card. This is Bard the Bowman. He's a blue 4. That's really the only thing that's important. It doesn't matter that he's Bard, but he's a blue 4. So he's going to play that. Gandalf is going to play this blue 7 for the ring. And Bilbo is going to play Bjorn, which is a green 3. Smaug is going to play this red 4, just to get rid of it, basically. And then Bolg is going to play this green 2. Now, the first card that got played in the trick sets the color of the trick. So this trick has the color blue. So then the highest blue card will win the trick, which in this case is going to be this blue 7 for the ring, played by Gandalf. So Gandalf wins the trick. So all these cards are going to go to Gandalf, and then Gandalf is going to assign cards. Now each character assigns cards a little bit differently, but for Gandalf, the way it works, it says when you win a trick, you may assign cards to some or all players, including yourself, but only 1 card to each player, and then you discard cards that are not assigned. So, how does assigning cards work? Well, basically, as you look at these cards, you'll see that each of them has a symbol. This is a star. I've got 3 that have stars. I've got 1 black orc helmet, and I've got 1 pipe. Okay? I'm going to put these stars, I'm going to put a star on Bolg. I'm going to put a star on Smaug. I'm going to put this pipe on Thorin. Why not? And then I'm going to go ahead and discard these other 2 cards. I'll just discard them here next to the deck. Okay. Now, the reason that's important is because as the game continues, we're going to get more cards played. Gandalf is going to start the next trick by playing a card from his hand. Let's say this 10, this purple 10. And then we're going to go around, see who wins that one. Those cards are going to get assigned. As we play the game, more cards are going to get assigned to people. The evil players are going to try to assign these cards with the black orc helmet to the good players. So perhaps something like that. And this one doesn't have a symbol. Okay, and here's a star. The bad guys, the good players are going to try and assign these stars to the bad players. We'll throw a pipe over there. And, okay. Now, let's say a bad player is assigning cards. The evil player is assigning cards, and he gets one of these black helmets. He's going to want to put these on the good players, but if he already has 2 or more stars, he might want to assign a black one to him. What that does is it actually takes one of the stars away, and both of those cards get discarded. Okay. Now, at the end of the first round, you're going to check to see if anyone got eliminated. So, you're going to look at the symbols there. There's no stars or helmets. 2 helmets on Gandalf, so Gandalf is eliminated. He's eliminated if he has 2 or more damage on him, and since he's a good player, these black orc helmets do damage to him. So Gandalf is out of the game. Bilbo is good, Smaug is good, but Bolg has 2 stars on him. Stars do damage to evil players, so he is going to be out of the game, leaving us with Thorin, Bilbo, and Smaug. Now, we're starting the next round. We're going to deal cards out to the players again. It's going to be a similar thing where we deal 7 cards to each player, 9 to the evil player, but then he discards down to 7. However, these pipes, for each pipe, you also get dealt an extra card, and then you have to discard a card. So it gives you a little bit more control over what cards you'll have in your hand. And at the end of the second round, if all of the bad guys have been eliminated, then the good guys, and at least there's at least one good guy standing, then you win. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but basically that's how it works. Good guys are trying to eliminate the bad guys are trying to eliminate the good guys. I think the actual technical thing in a 5-player game is that if the good guys have at least as many people standing as the bad guys have standing, then they win. Otherwise, the bad guys win. And that's basically how the game works. So that's basically how the game works. It's a very light trick-taking game. It has an interesting mechanic there where you're assigning cards to different players, effectively doing damage to your opponents, maybe healing yourself or your allies, and then setting up players to get maybe some extra cards in the second round. That's interesting. Makes it a little bit more complex than your typical trick-taking game like, say, Hearts or Spades. As far as the theme goes, the theme is very light. It doesn't feel like The Hobbit at all. The cards have some nice artwork on them of different characters and places and objects from The Hobbit, and the artwork is nice. But really, the artwork has nothing to do with what the cards actually are. I didn't even notice really any particular theme of like all the red cards are bad guys and all the blue cards are good guys or anything like that. It just seemed completely random what art was on which cards, and it has absolutely no impact on the game itself. Now, that's not necessarily bad, but don't buy this game thinking that you're going to get like the experience of The Hobbit in the form of a game. If you want that, you should buy the Lord of the Rings card game from the same publisher, Fantasy Flight Games. It's a really cool game that you can really get the experience of adventuring in Middle-earth with a tabletop game. That's my recommendation if that's what you're really looking for. But if you're just looking for like a really light trick-taking game, something, maybe you enjoy playing spades or hearts, but you want something a little bit more complex than that, with a little more nuanced, or maybe something that you can play with a different number of players. Like I said, you can play this game with 2 to 5 players. Spades, for example, I think is limited to 4. So, this gives you a little bit more variety of options in that regard. But overall, it feels like a very passable game, unless you're really looking for that light trick-taking game, to go in your collection. You're not satisfied just to have like a regular deck of cards that you could play spades or hearts with. Then, if you're really looking for that, then this is a perfectly fine game from that perspective. But otherwise, the theme just really isn't there. The mechanics are interesting, but nothing that really blew me away. A pretty passable game, in my opinion.